The reason why I omit a lot of stuff in my videos is because it's like common knowledge. Pretty much everybody watching already knows that. Like literally yesterday when I was like reading comments, I came across one that sounded like really insinuating, tried to gaslight me, tried to insult my intelligence, tried to suggest that trains are better than buses or stuff like that. I'll be talking more about it. Cause I don't want to insult my own viewers like intelligence as well. So some of these like really things, I choose to omit it. Sometimes I don't understand YouTube. It's like if you don't like make your video in the format that's like, oh, highly infographic, it's like really informative, teaches people from the basics to the advanced, and then talks about a whole lot of like transit theory and stuff like that. I don't get it. It's like when I don't like make my video in that format, I'm gonna be inviting a lot of these trolls. So the comments started insinuating me that I don't know what Todofuken means. I know Tokyo-to, Hokkaido, Osaka-fu, Kyoto-fu, and Okinawa-ken and stuff like that. I know what they mean. And I didn't say anything wrong when Tokyo in general, there's like the 23 special wards located near the city, and then West Tokyo, in essence, they all use she. Like Mitakashi, Tachikawa-shi, Hachioji-shi. I did not say anything wrong, so I don't even get like how the commenter was like insinuating me that I don't know what they mean. I think it's like rage bait, and I think it's like because my video format is like really casual, I tend to just comment on things casually. People tend to use it to attack me saying that like, oh, I'm not professional enough. Oh, I don't give a like full breakdown on what Todofuken means. Stuff like that. Like completely misunderstanding my point. I'm just going to quote this nonsense comment as it is. He's trying to say that like, oh, buses serve a different purpose in transit planning as compared to like railways, and then he's trying to say that like in transit planning in whatever city or town or village or whatever in the world, he's trying to say that like buses must all be feeders. Buses cannot be trunk. Buses cannot be expressway. Like those in Japanese they call kosoku buses, like high speed expressway buses that sometimes are like overnight. And then he's like, no. Buses must be feeders. And the truth is like even some of my friends who go on vacations, they go to like Germany and stuff like that, they are saying that like, hey, the trains and the buses, they like complement each other, and then they're able to take you like away from the city center to the towns and districts or whatever. I'm not very familiar with like Germany or like Europe in general. I've never even been there, so the next part he says, you can't have the same coverage with rail as you can with buses due to physical infrastructure requirements. Like that's the only thing that he said correctly, like within this like small excerpt of this entire comment. But this does not explain why buses can only be feeders. It's like this part and then this part, it's like the way he tried to like connect both of these and try to gaslight me that like, hey, we should not run trunk buses is really mind-blowing. Now granted, my video isn't in a format that satisfies your American brain. Like when it comes to this whole transit planning in general, like a lot of Americans, they have this like mindset that like, oh, trains is like because they carry more passengers, they are like higher order transit, and then buses are like a lower tier, so that's why trains are infinitely better than buses. They kind of say things like this. And I said commenter was like, oh, some things in this video that I've noticed make me doubt your expertise. Look, like, the reason why I even made this video in the first place is to tell many Singaporean viewers that like, hey, stop comparing Singapore to Japan and saying stuff like, oh, look at how Japan's train is so good. I wish Singapore can like emulate them. That was my whole point of the video. Like, you should not be comparing Singapore to Japan when the whole dynamics of like both the cities, countries are like completely different. That was my point. The point was not to say that, oh, bus is better than train or train is better than bus. Because have you ever like met those boomers in real life who don't really understand like the whole limitations when it comes to just Japanese railways in general? So when I brought up the whole point in automation, like I know that a lot of lines, their ceiling is at grade of automation level 2, like GOA 2 or GOA 3. I am not expecting them to go all the way to GOA 4. The reason why Singapore's lines, except North South East West line, can go up to GOA 4, I mean, I don't know Sentosa Railway, but it's like the reason why besides NSEWL, the rest of the lines can be GOA 4 in the first place is because they're like relatively new and they implemented like the whole GOA 4 thing right from the start. And it's not like a whole step up from like GOA 1 to the 3. From 3 to 4 is like almost impossible and unheard of. Like I am aware of it. It's more of a response to the fact that Singaporeans often they when they go on vacations to Japan and then they stay within the city centers and not like in the residential estates, they tend to like gloat about the fact that like, oh, how Japanese trains are so high tech, which is clearly not the case, and then they use it to say, oh my god, Singapore must copy them. And automation was one thing that I brought up just in response to that. Not because I don't understand like the technical limitations of like when and where you can automate stuff in general, be it buses or trains. But in this context, I was talking about trains. And then GOA4 works well for like short isolated runs, but not necessarily in like other contexts like like interstate travel. Okay, but in Japan it's more of like inner prefecture travel, like let's say from Aomori to Yamaguchi, stuff like that. I'm just giving a really extreme example, but maybe a more realistic one would be Tokyo to Osaka, stuff like that. So what he meant was like great separation works well for a few things, and there is great separation for high-speed trains like the Shinkansen that and a few lines that are short length. Okay, correct, or are high frequency in Japan. But here's the thing, like you cannot just limit like the whole scope of great separation to just this context, like for example. And then he was like saying he was like bringing up a really obvious point that like people already know by now. It's the reason why I omitted that is because it's no, they just have to like get rid of that final crossing and then the whole line will be able to go GOA 2 to GOA 3. And as I've mentioned earlier, I don't think I need to give people an example that is like so well known and so clear cut that it's like already in your mind. I don't have to repeat this kind of like simple stuff to my viewers. And then he's trying to say when looking at the Joban line, blah 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 blah. In the other video, my whole main point was that Joban line is rapid is trash. I did not try to say that like, oh, Joban line rapid has to be automated. I'm just trying to say, yes, the line cannot be automated, and like the amount of like railway crossings along the line because it's kind of like an interstate train line between Tokyo, Chiba, Ibaraki, and then Fukushima, Miyagi, that spans across like 5 prefectures. Keep in mind, I don't need to like do like what in-depth research on all of this in the sense that like everything I'm saying right now is unscripted. Unscripted. If you see like awkward pauses, it's I'm just like saying out my thoughts in real time. So at least you guys can know that these are my genuine thoughts. I did not rehearse any of this. Okay, I was just saying the thing about like rehearsals and stuff like that. I just see no point in like trying to script a video when it's unnecessary. Okay, I mean like back to my point. I did not say that Joban line must go GOA 2, 3, or 4. I understand the limitations. I'm not even saying Joban line needs to be quad track. I'm just using this extreme example, but anyway, it's not even extreme. If you live at like Matsudo, Kashiwa, Abiko, Toride, and Tsuchiura or stuff like that, if you live along these areas, you kind of have to use the Joban line because Japan doesn't really have a lot of like trunk buses in that area that can bring you to the city. Okay, maybe highway buses, yes. When you go to like, what's that place called? When you go near Tsukuba, yeah, there are actually buses that go into the city, kind of like city direct buses in Singapore. I mean, that's still an extreme example. I mean, like, another thing that I find really unreasonable is that people tell me, oh, only explain trains or only explain buses and not them like as a whole system. But I'm like, going by the people who love hub spoke, their logic, the system is meant to be used together. And that going by that logic, am I not supposed to talk about both of them in the same place? How I keep jumping from bus, train to bus. I mean, like, I do have a Singaporean audience. That's why I have to go bus, train, bus, train, bus, train. I need to explain both at the same time because I feel it's more efficient and people could see the differences between like short distance commute, medium distance commute, long distance commute, and stuff like that. Okay, sorry, back to my point. I did not ask Joban line to be GOA 4. I am just saying the line cannot be quadruple tracked. I'm just saying it cannot be automated for like various reasons. I'm not asking them to do it. I'm just using this as an example as to like say how people unfortunately if you live at those areas that I mentioned from between Matsudo and Tsuchiura, you have to use Joban line rapid. It's kind of a no choice. You have no other choice but to use this train line. And since it's your only train line, from experience, you will know how pathetically stupid this line is, especially when it gets delayed. You have no alternative option. Tsukuba Express is way too far up. You have to take Joban line rapid or local, like up to Abiko at least. The one con in Japan is that there is no alternative. You only have like this one train line in some areas because of population density and stuff like that. Because it's mostly hub spoke. I was merely talking about my bad experiences with Joban line in general, and I'm using it as a point to say how Singaporeans shouldn't be like comparing themselves to Japan and saying that like, oh, Japanese railway is so good. No, the nuances are completely different. And I admit in the previous video, the way I explained wasn't good. I can admit that, but that doesn't necessarily mean I am not aware of it. I'm just saying really generally so that it fits the whole point of the other video, trying to tell Singaporeans to stop like foaming to Japanese trains. That's all. And he says like you're comparing like a country which has like multiple different bus and train operators in it, and the fares are like quote unquote heavily regulated, which it's up to you whether you want to believe it or not, whether Japan's train fares are like heavily regulated or not. Look at Saitama Rapid Railway Line. Look at Toyo Kosoku Sen. What's that train line again? It's called Toyo Rapid Railway Line. Uh, or even like Hokuso Line, Narita Sky Access. These areas are like the train fare is like really expensive, partially because it's like run by private railway operators. Does that mean it's okay for them to like keep jacking up the price again and again and again? I know the genuine reasons why they have to keep increasing the price, but it's a matter of like is this really okay when you privatize everything and the fares get ridiculously expensive? That's just my main point. He's like saying a similar system with an IC card in Japan. However, you have to tap in and tap out as you transfer lines, which is likely the same in Singapore. Now, this part is completely wrong. Yes, there are some areas in Singapore, like Tampines and Newton, whereby you have to tap out of one line and then you tap into the other line within a few minutes. They give you a grace period. I'm not sure how long that is. They call it like, what do they call it again? They call it an unpaid link, like the one in Newton and Tampines. And okay, obviously in Japan they have a lot of these. Sorry, the unpaid link exists in Singapore, in Tampines and Newton, but that the same concept doesn't exist in Japan because you tap out of one operator's railway and then you tap into the other operator's railway. Tap out of one, tap into the other one. Okay, whatever. What I was trying to say is that this part is wrong. The IC cards are usable in almost every region now with a few exceptions. In Japan, to prove you're wrong, when transferring to Tokyo Metro to JR in Japan, you transfer at a single gate which ends your one trip on Metro and starts your one trip. Dude, this doesn't prove me wrong or anything. In fact, this is something that's like so basic, I don't even have to explain it to like my viewers. My point was that in Singapore, what you do is that like between bus and train, you can get a TRF. Between buses and buses, you get a TRF. And between trains and trains, you get TRF as well. But most of the time, the unpaid links are only like exclusive to like Tampines, Newton, and Bukit Panjang or stuff like that. Yeah, literally only 3 places as of now, if I'm not mistaken. It's a seamless transfer anyway. So my point back then was that you could TRF from a bus to a bus and a bus to a train. And because in Japan, they are run mostly by different operators, obviously they're not gonna TRF like that for you. They are run by different operators. I was just bringing this up as a point as to tell Singaporeans to stop comparing the system over in Singapore to the system in Japan, because in Singapore you could just TRF again and again and again with a maximum of like 4 times that you can transfer buses or trains. But in Japan, unless it is the same operator's line or the same operator's bus route in which you could buy a monthly commuter pass, like a concession pass, that allows you to like ride. Okay, like the commuter pass is only for like 1 or 2 routes, but then you could also buy like, you know, a system-wide pass that allows you to take every single bus within the company for free. I mean, you pay at the start of every month or every few months, like 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months. The whole point is that like bus or bus MRT, okay, bus MRT is only applicable when it comes to like the monthly concession pass. Depends on how you configure it, and it depends on how the different operators do it. I'm just trying to make the point that like bus to bus or train to train TRFs, like transfers in Japan, are like mostly non-existent unless it's like by the same operator. And I just wanted to say that like the fares, obviously they're gonna be different and you shouldn't compare it like this. That was my point. This proves nothing. And in fact, when you use such a simple example to try to prove me wrong, well, it just sounds like you're rage baiting. I mean, everybody knows the part in red at this point. I mean, not wrong. And then he's like saying Shinkansen includes base fare for the terminals. Tokyo, you can travel to many places on the Shinkansen included in the same base fare as Shinkansen ticket. Okay, that's just an example, which is like known already. And then he's just trying to say that like population density is the reason. You cannot say that Singapore is better because this isn't really a transit related problem. And then he goes on to say this part. My main point was just to say Singapore is just because of the population density, there are more buses like within a specific area, like any particular area. I'm just, oh my god, he's completely misunderstanding the point of why I even did the video in the first place. I was just trying to say that like Singapore, everything operates at higher frequencies. Yes, granted, that's because of the population density in general. I was merely trying to say, hey, Singaporeans, you need to be thankful that your buses run below 20-minute frequencies for the most part. And when you go to Japan, that's not the reality. The reality is that because of their population density, some of their like buses or train services in like the suburban areas, don't even talk about countryside or rural. Some of these suburb areas, their train and bus frequencies are like really horrible. They can be like 30 minutes to 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever. I can admit that I shouldn't have said this, but this was only to just tell Singaporeans not to take their own buses for granted because of the frequency and the amount of coverage they have. I can retract that statement. But this doesn't really justify, again, it's about misunderstanding the point of why I even made that video in the first place. Just because an area has like low population density, that doesn't mean you serve it or you go around cutting the frequencies all the way to the bare minimum just so you can squeeze everybody in like the same pack, everybody in like the same bus or train. There is one thing called efficiency, and then there is another thing whereby your train just gets or bus just gets completely overcrowded. Yes, you want to save costs, correct, but at what expense? Crowded trains? You can research it for yourself, but I'm not lying when I said in the suburbs the train frequency is like absolutely horrible. I'll just take Sunday as an example. Like, look at this. It is terrible. And obviously in Japan, due to efficiency, the destinations are going to be different. Like Kawagoe, Hakonegasaki, Haijima, there's a short working trip. Komagawa. The main point is that just because you see like, oh, the gap is like 25 minutes, it's 20 minutes, that doesn't necessarily mean that they all go to the same destination anyway. But overall, I pity people who use Hachiko line because the frequency is really trash for a train line in the suburbs. If you go to Chiba and you head further northeast or like eastwards or even southeastwards, the train frequencies start to get really horrible. I mean, cause it's low density, right? I was just trying to use this as an example because a lot of Singaporeans, they tend to commute only in the city areas and they don't even wander out a lot to experience this kind of like dogshit frequency. And then they go around just trying to gloat that like Japanese trains are better than Singapore. I mean, you guys haven't seen that. That was my point. Yes, manpower issues. And the whole thing about saving costs in general. Yes. The thing is that like Japan is hub spoke, but due to like the population density, I mean hub spoke for the most part. Due to like population density, some areas they don't even have like adequate feeder buses, again due to said population density. But you have to think about it. Is it okay? Are you running public transport for a profit or is it a service to people? But in Japan's case, it's privatized, so you have your answer. It's for profit. And they usually only operate at like the bare minimum anyways. Again, because the number of like bus drivers in Japan are dwindling, so yeah. Even routes that are essential, they have no choice but to truncate them or to withdraw them completely. For the record, I did not say inferior. All I loosely said was that Singapore's train frequencies and the bus network is like in general like better than Japan's. It was just like a really casual remark. I did not say it's inferior. I just wanted people to stop comparing one country to another country and saying like, oh, we must all foam to Japanese trains. I did not. I was just trying to stop people from saying this. Yes, I could have phrased it a little better, but I did not imply that like, oh, it's inferior. I just used like the word better, like I just used the word like better in a really casual way. I'm sorry about that. And the thing is, just because you have more train lines doesn't necessarily mean it's robust. Is a system more robust if, let's say, Takasaki line, Utsunomiya line, Tokaido line, Tokaido line, it gets delayed every single day, and then you have like Joban line who is like Kyutei Shashimasu every single day because of like the safety check at level crossings or like whatever. If a train system has like so many delays, like regardless of how expensive and like how big it is, like the network, you need to define robust. You cannot just say that like, oh, I love Japanese trains and look at the high quality railway standards that they are operating at. It is definitely more robust because I, as a transit scholar, say so. Hey, I did not say it falls down. I just said that delays are really common when it comes to Japanese railways. Some lines more than others. I don't know where this came about. Like, okay, this was him trying to say whatever I already said previously. I mean, insinuating me of this when it's just because of my audience. I actually have to do my videos in a way that my audience actually understands. And he says, stupid long local line and fare problem. Look, I was just saying Japan has no TRF unlike Singapore. That was my only point. And the fact that he says stupid long local line, it just says, oh, we can neglect them. Just make everybody take Shinkansen. Oh my god, like, if you're comparing rail to... You don't even look into the bus network. You're just a train nerd. You don't know the ground. You're not even a Japan resident. Okay, now I will focus better. I'll show you. Okay, I know my geography. This is Hokkaido. This is Kyushu. This is Shikoku. And this is Honshu, the main island. I am not expecting them to run a bus service from freaking Aomori to Yamaguchi. No, I did not say that. At most that they have like expressway buses from like Tsukuba to Tokyo or like Tokyo to Osaka, like the overnight buses. If you don't like to take train, you can take plane, like you can take like domestic flights as well. There's expressway buses which are like much cheaper than Shinkansen, even though they are like typically not as fast, depending on your needs. The reason why Japan doesn't really have a lot of like cross prefectural routes is that the way it works is that like when you pass by a new like whatever, like let me just, when you like cross between one city to a ward, or like between a city and another city, or if you cross like prefectural boundaries, okay, I mean like when it comes to like these areas within like the same prefecture, if you're talking about like within the prefecture in itself, designing bus routes isn't really that much of a pain anyway. But if you cross a prefecture, you need to get the government of both prefectures to agree that, hey, let's make this bus route. Whereas if you're making a bus route within the exact same prefecture, all you need to do is to tell like the different ward or like city governors that, hey, I'm going to introduce this bus route, or I'm going to withdraw this bus route, all the paperwork and stuff like that. The paperwork within the same prefecture to introduce or like to withdraw a bus, it's much simpler as opposed to between prefectures. This one you need a lot of paperwork, I'm sorry to say. It's not really like the hub spoke preventing it. It's more of like the population density, as well as like it's not even about like Japan being hub spoke in general. It's about population density, and it's about the amount of paperwork it takes to create a cross prefectural bus route, be it an expressway bus or a regular bus route. And the issues with cost and potential demand. Look, like if you're traveling from like one end of the island to the other end of the island, I mean, if you want the fastest route and not necessarily the cheapest route, I mean you can take domestic flights if you want to, but like train, be it Shinkansen or like local train lines, they are better for like long distances, whereby the hub spoke comes in. Medium distance, like medium distance, you could argue, like between Tokyo and Osaka. But within like the medium to short distance, like I don't know, like Tokyo, Kanagawa, Saitama, Chiba, and then West Tokyo as well. Okay, this is the same prefecture. Oh my god. And then Saitama is above. Maybe Ibaraki as well. I'm just talking about within these areas. The density is higher, and trying to make everybody squeeze in the same line or the same few lines is quite suffocating. And when you look at the bus route map within the Atsugi area, it's pretty much everything. It's kind of long distance as well, but everything kind of like hub spokes to like Honatsugi or Atsugi in general. I forgot the station name, but yeah. They do this because there is no choice. Population density there is not that high, and it is much better to just funnel all these people into the same train station. Like much more efficient, like in this case. I will just say things very generally. West Tokyo, all the areas that are denoted by Shi and not by Ku, their train lines, Chuosen, Keiosen, they run horizontally. And with a few exceptions, okay, maybe I should extend Musashino a little bit downwards. With a few exceptions, like there's Tama Monorail, there's like Hachiko Line, there's like Ome branch line, and then there's Musashino Line, and a few other exceptions. Horizontally, you travel by train. Vertically, you travel by bus. For the most part. Seibu bus, Kanto bus, Tachikawa bus, Keio bus, they offer a lot of these vertical bus routes. The reason is because they cannot send train lines to every single vertical corridor, if you would say. Like the places that are inaccessible by train, they go by bus. There's nothing wrong with it. Just because the vertical lines are by bus, that's not hub spoke. It's only hub spoke if they use the train lines. If they're just commuting vertically, it's not even hub spoke in the first place. And the same goes for like bus routes that cut across like this as well. Not just that. There are bus routes from Shibuya that cut across like this. And then from this area, they cut across like this to Ikebukuro. And obviously Toei bus, there are some routes that cut across like this. Some routes that cut across like this. So on and so forth. That's not hub spoke. That's called filling in the gaps that are not covered by rail. In some cases, you could actually still commute without even using like rail in the first place. And Shibuya. Look, from Shibuya, where is Shibuya? Here. If you want to access anywhere along the Odakyu line, you need to transfer Inokashira line to Odakyu Line, which is a different railway operator. And Denentoshi Line, as well as Toyoko Line, is like really crowded. They have parallel buses running along Toyoko Line. They have a lot of parallel buses running along Denentoshi Line. And a lot of them, not a lot of them, but like quite a few of them, they go to like the various Odakyu stations. That allows people to skip Inokashira Line and Odakyu Line, the transfer. It's a one direct ride. That is not hub spoke. That is avoiding the railway. It allows you to skip the annoying transfers or like the crowded train lines. You could get a seat on board a bus, provided the bus isn't crowded. And it allows you to just pay once and not twice, like, when you transfer from one operator's line to another, you don't have to pay again. Within the city, the bus routes tend to be flat fare, unlike the suburbs, whereby it's stage fares or distance fares. And because of that, all the flat fare buses, the longer you take the bus, as in like the longer distance that you take the bus routes, the more worth your flat fare is. That is the benefit as to all the Shibuya buses that are going southwest and touching the Odakyu line stations. There are some trunk routes as well. Shinjuku to Oji, trunk bus route. Longer distance. Total journey time is like around 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes, or even a bit more if like this area it gets congested, traffic congestion. But yeah, newsflash, bus routes in Japan are not all feeder buses that connect people to the MRT, to the train. There are trunk bus routes. In case you're wondering, there is a lot of like fake news saying that, oh, buses in Japan, they go from one train station to another, one train station to another, one train station to another. They start from one train station and then they terminate at the other train station. No. A lot of bus routes, they start in the middle of nowhere and then they end in the middle of nowhere. And they happen to pass by a train station. Look, if it's like from a train station to in the middle of nowhere, yes, you're correct. But from a train station to another train station, that's not very common, okay? Depending on where you are at. It's not like every single bus route in Japan is designed to like feed people to the trains. They serve a train station, but it's not every single time that you need to use the train. Okay? This is just Tokyo. I'm not too familiar with like Kyoto or Osaka, but their bus network there is like a lot better than Tokyo. And not just that, you go to Kanagawa prefecture, like Yokohama area, just look at the Kanachu bus route map. Just look at the Odakyu bus route map. No, not Odakyu, sorry. I mean, there's Odakyu, but like Kanachu is like a subsidiary of Odakyu anyway. But just look at the Yokohama city bus or Yokohama municipal bus, Yokohama CA bus. Look at the route map. There are a lot of routes that are trunk services. They are not feeder services that like, meant to fit people to the trains. No. Look, there is one thing being a train nerd, but there is another thing being a train nerd that is completely ignorant of like the bus network in Japan, saying things like, oh, I like trains, and I think all the buses are meant to feed to the trains. Okay, fine. Yokohama city bus, municipal bus, whatever you call it, go look up these routes. 36, 39, 101, 102, 103, 104, 10... The 10X series, basically. And look at those bus routes. Don't tell me these are feeder buses. They are trunk buses. And the whole thing about, like, cross-prefectural travel, yes, there is, like, little to no buses that cross the prefectures, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's none. It's mostly due to the paperwork that they don't even want to... They feel it's not really worth running a bus route that's like mostly parallel to the train line when most people take the train anyways. I mean, it's, oh my god, it's like, Hey, I'm not trying to say, oh, we need more buses from like Aomori to Yamaguchi. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, okay, fine, Tokyo, West Tokyo area. Dude, if I don't present this as like West Tokyo and Tokyo, or if I present this like this, I'm already gonna see all the hate comments saying things like, do you know Tokyo is one perfect? I know, I'm just saying the general area. Like, come on. What I was saying is that it would be nice to have more buses in between these areas. I'm not saying long, like really, really long distance. I'm just saying medium distance. Because it is really suffocating to squeeze on a train. You're lying if you say, I love squeezing on board the trains. It gives me my daily exercise. I mean, well, it is exercise, but ugh. I am a train fan. I love it when I get crashed on all corners. I love the feeling that I'm going green. I love trains. I'm just saying, within Tokyo, the number of like toei bus routes is like kind of adequate. It's just some of the routes have like really terrible frequency. But I don't really have any complaints about like the bus system within Tokyo because it's quite rail dominant over here, so I don't even have the right to complain. In Kanagawa, the bus network like within Kanagawa is already good enough. This one has a lower population density. Same for this one. That's why the buses there tend to be shit. This one is like it depends on where you're at. I am just like advocating for more like the city direct bus service kind of routes that only operate during peak hours that aren't so expensive. Like as a alternative to the railway in case said railway breaks down. Cause let me tell you, from Kameari to Kanamachi, there are like a few bus routes, albeit terrible frequency. From Kanamachi to Matsudo, even though it's one station apart, there is like no bus that connects these two areas together. And it's quite sad. If Joban line breaks down, be it local or rapid or both, you don't even have an alternative. You're forced to wait. The issue about Japan is that there is no network resilience for the most part. Again, because of set population density. In Singapore, there is. When the MRT breaks down, there are bus routes that still allow you to go places. In Japan, you don't have that luxury. Again, it's because of said population density, but this was my point. I'm not saying that like, oh, Singapore railway is definitely better than Japan. I'm just saying that casually because I want to stop Singaporeans from like just gloating over Japanese trains, like just foaming to Japanese trains. I'm sorry that this video is really choppy and like my thoughts are like a little bit disoriented and all over the place because how do you even reply to things like this? I mean like I know it's unscripted, but it's like I myself am getting confused on like how I should even like be approaching this topic or I should even be replying in the first place. Like, this has given me a lot of brain damage. I'm so sorry about that. The thing is that it's mostly because okay fine, I shouldn't have like casually said it's better or like stuff like that. And it's also my own tendency to like omit a lot of stuff. But like it's fine if you want to like say I should have phrased things better. I agree. That video was like really, really impromptu. But for you to insinuate that, oh, I don't have a lot of expertise in Japanese railway and bus, that's stupid. Like, you're just a train fan. You don't even look into the bus route. So stop trying to challenge me, man.